What should have been a proud homecoming for Lance Stroll is spiraling into something much darker, a potential exit, cloaked in secrecy and softened by sympathy. Montreal was meant to be a celebration, a flag-waving, anthem-blaring, proud son of Canada weekend. Instead, it's turning into a media storm, a PR chess game, and perhaps the beginning of the end of Lance's Formula One career. The official story is injury, a familiar one too, Stroll's troublesome wrists, which have flared up once again. But dig deeper into the paddock whispers, and a different picture emerges. Behind the rehearsed statements and half-answers, Aston Martin's rush to find a substitute, the vague recovery timeline, and their refusal to talk retirement all point to something more orchestrated. This doesn't feel like a panicked reaction to a medical emergency. It feels like a well-rehearsed act, and that act may be step one in a bigger play, one that ends with Stroll quietly stepping aside to make room for a headline-stealing 2026 signing. Spanish Grand Prix was a brutal weekend for Lance Stroll. He was soundly outpaced by Fernando Alonso in qualifying and didn't even make it out of Q2. Frustrated, outclassed, and visibly boiling, Stroll reportedly exploded in the garage. According to paddock sources, he smashed equipment and berated team members in a fit of rage. The team issued a swift denial, but the atmosphere screamed damage control, and then came the real twist. Stroll withdrew from the race altogether. The official reason: agonizing pain in his hands and wrists, the same injury that had required surgery in 2023. Convenient, suspiciously so, especially considering the timing. Just days before his most high-profile weekend of the year, in front of his home fans, and with mounting scrutiny on his future, Stroll pulls out, not long after the outburst. And now, days before Canada, Aston Martin is suddenly tiptoeing around everything. Publicly, they're playing it cool. It's business as usual, they claim. But internally, sources suggest something else entirely. The team is preparing for life without Lance, not temporarily, permanently. It's a delicate situation. Stroll is not just any driver. He's the son of the team owner, Lance Stroll. Replacing him publicly would be messy, headline-dominating, and emotionally charged. But framing it as a health issue, that's cleaner. That buys time. That softens the blow. The media narrative becomes compassion, not confrontation, sympathy, not scandal. And crucially, it creates an opening, an elegant way to phase Lance out without the backlash of a mid-season firing. A clever PR pivot designed to make space for a marquee signing in 2026 without dragging the boss's son through the mud. Now on one side, there's a national crowd eager to cheer their local hero. On the other, a rapidly closing window to make a decision. Under FIA regulations, the team has until the start of free practice to nominate a replacement driver. Miss that, and they're locked into running Lance, fit or not. Each day without clarity doesn't just heighten the drama, it squeezes the team's options and clutters the logistics. Team principal Mike Crack has tried to keep the tone measured, telling reporters, "We'll let the medical experts decide. It's not about forcing things. Lance wants to be there, of course, but the priority has to be long-term health." It's a diplomatic stance, sure, but one that only intensifies the speculation swirling through the paddock. And that speculation has a name: Adrian Newey. Newey didn't abandon Red Bull's dominance to babysit a midfield outfit or accommodate a team owner's son. His arrival was a statement. Aston Martin is going all in for 2026. And with that ambition comes zero tolerance for sentiment. Newey's entire legacy is built on performance, precision, and pruning weaknesses without emotion. According to insiders, he's already begun reshaping the structure from within, identifying inefficiencies, tweaking workflows, and rethinking personnel, including, crucially, the second seat. Because for Newey's vision to succeed, there's no room for inconsistencies behind the wheel, and in the eyes of many, that means Lance Stroll doesn't fit the blueprint. Now, this isn't just about one race, it's about a shift in direction, a reshaping of the future. And it starts with the big question: who steps in if Stroll is out? The most obvious candidate is Felipe Drugovich, the team's reserve driver and 2022 Formula 2 champion. He's already familiar with the car, the garage, and the team setup, having filled in for Stroll during pre-season testing last year when Lance was recovering from the same wrist problem. In short, he's a plug-and-play option. But just when you think Aston Martin has a clear plan B, things get complicated. Drugovich is also scheduled to race for Cadillac at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which, of course, falls on the exact same weekend as the Canadian Grand Prix. Now, Aston Martin is stuck in a logistical nightmare, trying to untangle overlapping contracts and corporate priorities. To his credit, Drugovich has made his priorities clear. "Formula One remains my top priority," he told Brazilian media. But in the high-stakes world of motorsport, that doesn't automatically mean he'll be free to race. Between Between Le Mans commitments and the legal fine print of his contracts, the situation is anything but straightforward. And that raises an even bigger question. If Aston Martin sees Drugovich as more than a stopgap, maybe even as Stroll's long-term successor, this is the moment to show it. Let him race in Canada. Give him the seat. Show confidence. Because if Stroll's wrist injuries continue, Aston Martin needs more than a backup. They need a new pillar. But Felipe isn't the only name floating around the Montreal paddock. The veteran Valtteri Bottas is without a seat after parting ways with Stake F1. While many assumed he'd be in F1 limbo until the 2026 reshuffle, Bottas might find himself fast-tracked into action, and Aston Martin could be the perfect landing spot. Why Bottas? Because he's experienced, fit, and race-ready. No adaptation curve, no learning the ropes, no simulator-only knowledge. He's proven in the hybrid era and has a long-standing relationship with Mercedes, the same company supplying Aston Martin's engines. It's a tidy fit. And crucially, Bottas wouldn't be a risk. If Aston Martin wants stability, consistency, and a cool head to bring in points while they plan for 2026, Bottas fits the mold better than anyone else available. He may not light up the timing screens anymore, but in a midfield scrap, experience counts. Other options exist, of course, but they come with red flags. Take Frederick Vesti, a Mercedes junior with solid F2 credentials. Vesti has raw speed and big potential, but he lacks F1 experience. And Aston Martin, a team trying to claw back performance and credibility, doesn't have the luxury of rolling the dice right now. Then there's Stoffel Vandoorne, technically the team's reserve driver, but realistically a long shot. He hasn't started an F1 race since 2018. Sure, he's been active in sim work and testing, but 5 years away from the grid is an eternity in F1 terms. And to make things worse, he's also locked into a Le Mans program with Peugeot. Jack Crawford, he's the wild card. Just 20 years old, lightning fast in junior categories, and already part of Aston Martin's development program. But let's not kid ourselves. He hasn't raced a Formula 1 car in anger, and it's unclear if he even holds a valid super license. Right now, he's a long-term project, not a short-term solution. All of this brings us back to the central drama, Lance Stroll. The 25-year-old has long been the sport's most protected driver, thanks to his father's financial backing and team ownership. But protection doesn't equal performance. And the truth is, Stroll has struggled badly. The car has regressed, and now his own body may be giving out before the team officially does. There's no confirmation yet of retirement, no farewell tour, no press conference, but watch closely. And the writing is on the wall. Physical struggles, emotional blow-ups, PR spin, and the team quietly mapping out alternatives. Make no mistake, Aston Martin is preparing for change, quietly, strategically, ruthlessly. Is this really about Lance Stroll's injury? Or is Aston Martin, with Adrian Newey and Honda pulling strings, quietly clearing the runway for a 2026 power move? And if so, who do you think they're making room for? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, goodbye for now.